Welcome to the Feeding Our Young podcast. Have you ever heard the phrase, nurses eat their young? Feeding Our Young is more than a podcast. It's a movement. It's a desire to see new nurses of all ages be supported and uplifted by their peers, and it starts with me. It starts with you. So join host Eric Miller, registered nurse of nearly 20 years and adjunct clinical instructor, and today's honored guest, me, Lynzee Hewett, and be ready to have your life uplifted so you can, in turn, uplift others. Welcome to the Feeding Our Young podcast.
Good morning, everybody, and more specifically, good Saturday morning, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Feeding Our Young podcast. I bring up the Saturday morning thing because it's kind of important. I might be an adult, but the child that lives within me still enjoys a good Saturday morning cartoon, Looney Tunes being my favorite. And so, would I rather be watching cartoons? No, not right now. Right now, I'd rather be with the most amazing honored guest that we have in studio this morning, and I'm just going to go ahead and get right to her, Lynzee Hewett. Lynzee, how the heck are you this fine Saturday morning?
Hi, I'm so good. I'm so happy to be here.
I am so happy to reconnect with you. Lynzee and I were able to work together a while back, and really not long enough for my liking, that's for sure. But we'll get into that more in a little bit. But first, Lynzee, if you don't mind, as we often do, I'll have you introduce yourself to the vast Feeding Our Young audience. If you could tell us where you're from, where you graduated from, and all the things, that would be awesome.
Yes, so I am born and raised in Lewiston, Idaho, and that's actually where I went to nursing school at Lewis Clark State College, where I graduated in 2019. So I'm still a baby nurse.
Well, no, like that's 5 years, so we're talking like toddler nurse now, right?
Yes, I love it.
That's how I like to. I'm almost an adult nurse. I can't
Yes.
wait. I don't know what that's gonna feel like. Probably not much different than any other thing, but
Yep.
So that's awesome. So you're from Lewiston, Idaho. Is that like a big city? Where's that at for those that aren't familiar with Idaho?
It's about 2 hours south of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, which is like a pretty big city, but we have about 30,000 people and some smaller surrounding towns, so it's mid-size.
And then there's a town that's kind of its sister town. Like,
Yeah.
There's kind of a sister town in Washington across the border because it's right
Yes.
near the southern Washington-Idaho border. And what is that town and what is their connection?
That is Clarkston, Washington. And they're just separated by the Snake River. So just across the bridge and you're in Washington. But yeah, that has about, I think, like 20-something thousand people. So between both of them, we call it the LC Valley. So it's pretty big, but.
The LC Valley. That's a term I've not heard, not being from that area. But I love the fact that they're named after Lewis and Clark, very famous explorers that traveled west. And if I recall correctly, I'm a nurse, not a history major. But if I recall correctly, they made it all the way to the coast, right? Aren't they known for making it to... I almost want to say it's their statue that's in Seaside, Oregon. I could be wrong on that one.
I don't know.
Now I gotta look it up. That's it. Let's see if we're right. This is a little history. Either that or like people are gonna be like, oh my gosh, this guy does not know what he's talking about. But in the meantime, what do you love? Well, no, okay, no. What do you love most about your hometown? Let's go there.
I love that all of my family's here and my husband's family, like we're pretty homebodies, but we don't miss birthdays, we don't miss holidays, so we're pretty close with our families, and it's nice. And there's a lot of stuff to do outdoors, whether that's boating or camping, stuff like that. And we get all the seasons here, just like Spokane. And so we snowmobile, we hanging out in the summer and stuff, so there's lots to do outside.
Sounds like a lot of outdoor activities then. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, like maybe running, perchance.
Like running, yes. I know you'd be so proud of me, Eric. I ran my first half marathon.
Shut
I'm like
up.
I'm only like 100 and what something behind you. But
That's okay. Okay, so now we have to unpack this a little bit too then. So your first half marathon was where?
Yep. It was in Leavenworth, Washington, which is like a Bavarian village. It's like in central Washington. Gorgeous.
It's absolutely gorgeous, and it's held in October. Early October, I think.
Yep. So it's in Leavenworth they have a huge Oktoberfest. So it's like where they eat, drink, and celebrate and stuff. So it was super fun.
So the Leavenworth half is on my bucket list of halves to complete. And all the halves I've completed, there are a few that just, I don't travel. I don't have a lot of money. I don't have a lot of time. So I don't travel a whole lot. And Leavenworth is, a few hours outside of Spokane. So it takes, you can't just drive there, do it, and go back. You've got to, make the experience of it. My wife and I would love to spend some time out there. That is on our bucket list of, so it's like, well, do we do it around the half? Do we do it, you know what I mean? Like, or do we just go twice in 1 year and call it a day? So I'm a little bit envious. That being said, did you enjoy your first half marathon? Would that lead to future running events regardless of distance? Or are you like one and done? No, thank you.
I don't know. Like, I was so proud of myself when it was done. But during it, I was like, this sucks. I'm not like having the best time. But just the pride I felt in being like, okay, I finished something I said I was going to do. That felt really good. And so I don't want to write it off, but not anytime soon.
This might be an analogy for nursing school, the way you just phrased that.
Kinda.
You're going through it and you're like, I'm not really enjoying this. But when you're done, you're proud.
Like, wow,
and
like, awesome.
I did this. Except in nursing, you complete nursing school, there's a lot more better things that come your way than just completing a half marathon. So that's for sure. Awesome. Well, before we venture off, and not keeping those out of the loop, but yes, I double checked because I thought for sure. I love Seaside. Seaside is one of our we kind of consider it our home away from home, Seaside, Oregon, and there's a monument right there on the beach, on the promenade, on the prom as they call it, and it's a monument of Lewis and Clark. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that's them, but I had to double check because it's Saturday morning, brains are turning on, we're fine. So with that, one last opening question before we dive into the rest of the stuff there, Linz, and that is the relatively newer opening question, which is, what are 3 of your favorite songs in life right now?
Number 1 is Stick Season by Noah Kahan, America's Sweetheart by Elle King, and Like a Girl by Lizzo.
Ooh, I'm going to have to give those a try. Definitely. And the not newer question, what are 3 words you would use to describe nursing school? Besides half marathon, of course.
Literally. I would say hands-on, challenging, and rewarding.
Ooh, I like it. All right. Well, let's discuss that at the end there. So, continuing forward, before we talk about all things nursing, you've kind of talked about what you do outside. What other hobbies do you enjoy, and were you able to enjoy any of them whilst in nursing school?
I really like to read, kind of all sorts of books, but I didn't get to do that during nursing school. Like, my face was in a textbook or my notes and stuff. And so that's kind of a hobby I took up after school, because I was like, wow, I have all this free time. Like, what am I supposed to do with myself now? And so started reading, and I'm hooked, but it's nice.
A lot of fiction, nonfiction, a mixture of the two?
I don't read a lot of nonfiction. It's mainly fiction, romance, thrillers, mysteries.
Any books you'd recommend anyone out there?
Oh my God. Well, okay, this one's about nursing. It's my favorite author, Kristen Hanna, and it's called, oh my gosh, it's about the Vietnam War. It's called The Women. The Women.
I have heard about I've heard about this.
Oh my gosh. Well, I cried, but it is such a good book. Like, it talks about women's roles as nurses in Vietnam War and how they weren't really recognized, but it was such a good book. I'm in a book club and we read it, and even people that weren't nurses like loved it so much, but it's a really good book.
Gosh. So there's another takeaway for everybody out there. Lynzee has time for a book club now. And that book club is not nursing school. So I suppose nursing school is also a book club. 2 book clubs, not 1, but 2. Oh my goodness. I love it. I love it. So if I recall correctly, you enjoy traveling. Going back on the I don't travel a whole lot. If I remember correctly, you were kind of polar opposite. Have you traveled? Where have you traveled? And where did you like to travel the most?
I have. I always liked to have something planned. Like it made something to look forward to. And so I actually did travel a little bit during nursing school, like whether that was a weekend away or like I've been to Leavenworth many times. But my bigger trips, I've been to like Mexico, Costa Rica, London, France, Italy and Spain. I've been to this little tiny country called Andorra, which is in between France and Spain. It doesn't even have a border. There's no army. There's no taxes. It's a quaint little country. But yeah, had to check it off my list.
Wow. I mean, like, that's fascinating to me. Like, I wonder how big it is. Do you know how big it is at all, or how populous it is?
Let's look it up. It is small. The population of the whole entire country as of 2023 was almost 81,000.
Wow. So like double the size of just Lewiston and Clarkston put together by our estimate anyway. Oh yeah. My goodness.
Its area is about 180.7 miles squared.
So very small. No army, no taxes. How does it exist? I know that's man. I
actually did learn this. It like a long time ago, and I could be wrong, but it was a long time ago. France and Spain like basically made a treaty to just like take care of this little country.
Wow.
And so like if something were to happen, like these 2 countries would help it.
Defend it. Oh my goodness. Here you are, everybody. Today we're getting history, we're getting geography, we're getting everything but nursing. So just kidding. Let's dive into the nursing stuff. That's amazing. So Lynzee, let's start with where it all started. Why did you want to become a nurse?
I have a lot of nurses in my family, between like my grandma, my cousin, my aunt, and I always just heard them talking about it. And I always knew I wanted to like go into the medical fields, but I actually used to want to be a pediatrician. And so I started my college career out on that path, and then was just like, that this isn't what I want to do. Like, I want to be more like hands-on with patients and, by their side. And so I, had a lot of conversations with them, and they were like, yeah, it's nursing. Like, you need to do nursing. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah. Like, it was like a light bulb moment.
Oh, wow. And I mean, obviously loving it to this day,
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, well,
Couldn't
we'll
imagine
get into
doing anything else.
No, and that's how many times somebody says that on here, myself and honored guests included, like however you ended up here, and some people end up here and like, well, it was what was available, so I gave it a try, and then they say, now I can't imagine doing anything else. And so it's just, I love it. You guys, you're going to love nursing. You're going to love nursing. Stick through that nursing school. Get through that half marathon or full marathon, as it may actually be. And then you're going to have amazing times after you get out of that. So with that then, talking about where you went to school, that kind of leads us into maybe some challenges that you faced. Would you like to discuss some challenges you faced, and then how do you personally overcome or kind of work through challenges?
Yeah, so one of my challenges was going to school to be a pediatrician. I actually went in your neck of the woods to Whitworth University for about a semester to play basketball and try to do pre-med, and it just did not work out. It was a pretty dark time, I'm not gonna lie, and it made me just realize like what I value most, which is like my family, and just I'm a comfort person, and I like to step out of my comfort zone and travel a little bit, but I'm a homebody, and I'm just so fortunate that I have a nursing school in my town, because I was like, like kind of a no-brainer. But yeah, so at semester I switched back to Lewis Clark State College, and I one of the best decisions I made personally. Like it was, I don't regret it, but looking back, I'm like, that was really hard. And being 18, 19, I was like, oh my gosh, like, what am I doing with my life? And I just never think it's a bad thing to like take a step back, you know, like be like, what do I value? What means most to me right now? Because, you know, in 20 years, it's not going to matter. Like you just have to do what's best for you at the moment. And transferring back was financially really, really smart for me. But also just, you know, emotionally and physically really good for me. So
what they call the win-win-win, right?
Yeah. My bank account's thanking me.
Which is huge. I think it's funny because we get, you know, a lot of nursing students. I love the different perspectives because you have some people that are like, well, I wanted to stay close to home. You have others that are like, I wanted to get away from home because this was my one time to, you know what I mean? And you're kind of a mixture of both. How did that work? Was there any ever thought of like, oh, the challenge of transferring to another university or back home to another university? Was any of that even like a potential non-negotiable for you, or just your desire to get back home was strong enough? You're like, I don't care what I got to overcome.
I think it was kind of both. I think like, but that kind of like goes into like how I overcome challenges. I am like have to write things down because sometimes I feel like my brain can just get like, it's just jam packed with stuff. And, you know, I overthink things. And so I always wrote things down. Like basically like halfway through the semester, I wrote down how my day was, like, you know, what my positives were, what my negatives were. And then like when it got down to crunch time and being like, are you going to transfer or not? I like looked back and I was like, well, am I having more good days than bad? Or, you know, like, and then I wasn't. And I was like, okay, what am I doing? Like, I really tried to make this work. And, you know, so I was like, it's just best for me. But getting my thoughts onto paper was really helpful.
And I love hearing that because, you know, I'm an fellow overthinker. I identify strongly with you. My wife will tell you right now, if I'm like buying something like a new TV or something like that, I have to do all the research. I gotta look, oh, well, this one's good because of this and this one's not. And well, but if we got that, this would save us money. And, you know, you can get caught in the spiral over something as simple as that. And so that's awesome that you are able to just, hey, get the thoughts on paper. Here's the pros, here's the cons. Mm-hmm. It helps you feel more organized, right?
Yeah.
You can make a more informed decision, as we like to say about our patients.
Absolutely. Yeah, and not like based on like emotions or, you know, spur of the moment. So
yeah, awesome, very awesome. So with that, you make this decision to get back home, and you're going to Lewis and Clark. And talk to us about nursing school. What do you remember from nursing school, you know, since it was so long ago? And, but no, I mean, what did you enjoy about it? What do you remember most about the whole experience?
Well, for one, I loved nursing school. I really loved it. I have made some of my best friends to this day. You know, like we were in the trenches together. We were stressed out, cram studying all night long. And, so it just brought some lifelong friendships, but I loved LCSE because it was like a small cohort. Like we didn't have a ton of students. So I got to know all these people and, you know, we succeeded together. We cried together. It felt like a little family, but, I loved nursing school. If I could go back, I would do it again. Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
You heard it here first. One of the few that says I loved it. I loved it. I mean, and that is great. That is, you know what I mean? That you're able to have that sort of community. That's a theme that comes up on the podcast often.
Yeah.
Are you naturally outgoing? Is this something that came easy to you? And if not, how did you reach out to create these lasting bonds?
Well, I went in knowing I had one friend. So it already helped having somebody, but I feel like I am pretty outgoing. And if I see somebody kind of alone, I'm like, hey, like, let's go talk to them, or, you know, inviting new people into our group. But I just always remember, like, we're all in the same boat. Like we all had something in common. So it was like make friends with them. You're going to spend the next, you know, year or two with them. So it's like trying to make connections and relationships and stuff, because you might be their partner in a project or, have a simulation or scenario with them. And so it was nice to get to know people. But
did you find that navigating the waters of nursing school, like at first, like you said, you already knew you had one person that you knew. What would be, let me back up. What would be your advice to those that say, okay, that's great. I just got in nursing school or I've been in it and I'm having a hard time establishing those relationships. I'm not the one that reaches out. What would be your advice to that person who's listening?
I think to go to the events. I feel like nursing school, like we always had like fun things going on or reviews or where the professors would hold things like that. And it's like, go to them, kind of like, I mean, you don't have to talk to people quite yet, but you could be like, oh yeah, like that person I see quite a bit. And maybe they'll be the ones to reach out to you. But I think just putting yourself out there physically and maybe not talking quite yet could really help. But
I really like that. That being said, then you get through nursing school. I mean, I feel like that's, we've spent all of 3 minutes talking about getting through nursing school. That was it.
Yeah.
I mean, did you have any challenges? It sounds like, I mean, you enjoyed it so much. What did you find challenging about it? Like, how did you work through that whole, like, or maybe you didn't. Maybe you were one of the few that got through and you're like, yay, this was easy.
No. No. That was not me. It was still really hard. I'm really competitive. So like when things are challenging and I get through it, I'm like, oh, I don't even care. Like, I'm so happy it's done and I won kind of thing. But, like looking back, like I was still working basically full time. And I thankfully had a job where like, if it was slow, I could work on my homework or things like that. But like, it took all of me. Like, I didn't have much of a social life. Thankfully, my boyfriend at the time, who's my now husband, didn't live here. So, like, I almost didn't have him, like, taking up my time. I know that's bad to say. I love him so much. He's sitting in the other room. But I could focus. Like, I could focus. And, like, I lived with my mom, thankfully. And so I had, like, a really good support system. But, like, it took all of me. And there was times where like, I don't know if you guys if everyone takes the HESI tests, like practice tests.
For me, it was long enough ago that I did not, but yes, many students take the HESI test now.
Oh, those were like the bane of my existence. Like, I don't know if I passed one my whole entire nursing career. Like,
there it is, everybody. You hate the HESIs. Go ahead and hate the HESIs. You're fine.
Yeah. And, I remember like talking to my professor and I'm like, am I even going to pass this class? Because I'm not passing these HESIs. And she was like, well, why aren't you passing them? And I'm like, I don't know. Like it was just such a hard time. So something that like I struggled with, but I had to reach out to my professors and be like, okay, like, what am I like? They had to like keep me in check because I was, not that I was like gonna fail, but like I personally felt like I was because I wasn't passing them. But it was hard. But yeah, I loved it because I had good professors, good friends, a good support system to get me through it. But it's draining, and that's kind of all your focus can be on.
Yeah, for sure. And it demands that attention because nursing demands your attention for sure.
It's important.
Then, it really, really is. So, Lynzee, you mentioned that you were, you're a competitive person by nature. You were glad when you got the half marathon done. You were glad when you got, you know what I mean? Like you said, you're like, you got through nursing school and you're like, yes, I beat it. You know what I mean? And that's, but I knowing what I know about you and your character, I don't ever get the feeling that you're like, yes, I beat them or I beat that person. You're saying I beat the institution, the program that was nursing school. Is that correct? Like, is that ever, what would be your thoughts on competition within nursing school? Because that has come up often on this podcast where some people are like, it's so competitive getting in. And then there's a lot of students that have a hard time letting go of that. I need to be better than the person next to me.
Totally. LCSE is very competitive to get into. And there was students in our class that were competitive with others. And not that, they would bring you down, but like you could tell that they were always like, they were the ones taking the professor's time, or they were the ones, kind of like not letting you speak or during simulation or things like that. Like they would take them over. But I'm not competitive with other people, unless it's like a sport. But like for me, like, we were all in this together. We were a team of students, like, especially my little group. Like, we were in it together. Like, if one of us didn't pass or like do really good on a test, it was like, well, how did we not help prepare her? Or like, how did we fail her of like not helping her study or things like that? So yeah, for me, it was like, I'm competitive against classes and, you know, basically the whole program itself. And I think that comes from like, I don't like to fail. Like, I'm scared of failure. And I bet other students can relate to that. But it's like, you have to, I feel like, almost have like a little bit of competitiveness and like grit and strength to like get through nursing school. But it's hard when you see other students like that, because it's like, hey, enjoy the ride. Like, you know, it's 2 years of our life. We're not going to get back. Like, I'm not competing with you. Like, you don't have to compete with me. Like, we're all in this together.
Yeah. I love
Little
that.
High School Musical.
Busting out in song. Lynzee, take it away. But I love that idea. The idea that once you're in nursing school, stop competing against others and compete against the standard. Right? That's I think, essentially what we're saying. There's a standard set that you need to reach this bar in order to pass. Compete against that. If you're barely above it, great. If you're leaps and bounds above it, great. But guess what? You're all going to graduate, and you're all going to sit for the same NCLEX. On that note, just talk to us briefly. What did you feel about that wonderful, wonderful exam, that 4-letter word we call the NCLEX?
Oh, I remember being so anxious. Like, I'm just like, because I don't test well. Like, I overthink things, and I, sometimes move too fast. But I had my sister-in-law drive me up to Spokane, because I had to drive 2 hours up there. And I was like, hey, Ronnie, all my NCLEX prep classes that I took, the computer adaptive tests, they shut off when they mimic the NCLEX. I got 265 questions on every single one of them, Eric. So I went in. Yeah, I went into the NCLEX thinking like, hey, Ronnie, my sister-in-law, I'm like, this is going to take me probably like, 3 hours. I don't know. So I'll just call you when I'm done and it'll be great. So to my shock and horror, it shut off at 75 questions. Oh. And I said, I was like, perfect. I failed it. And I left and I said, well, now I know what to expect. I went in super anxious, and so I went to a little margarita place and indulged and got, Ronnie drove me home, and I kind of forgot about it. I was like, and I didn't tell anyone I took it. She was like the only one that knew I took it, because I was so scared and anxious, and I don't like to fail. And so I was like, I don't want to have to tell people that I went and failed and have to retake it. And then you have to wait so long now or something to get your results, and I got an email saying your results are ready. And I was like at a family function, and I was like, do I open this now? Like, I'm going to cry and I opened it and it said I passed. And I literally could not believe it. Because I was like, for sure I failed it.
That's one of the best NCLEX stories I've ever heard.
Oh my gosh. So my takeaway from this, take your NCLEX prep courses. I did Kaplan, but take them with a grain of salt. Like, you're smart. You passed nursing school, you know what to do. Yeah. And try not to make it so anxious, like every nursing student has to take the NCLEX. We're all doing it. But you can retake it if you fail, and it's okay to fail. Cause I don't know I know that they recently just changed the NCLEX. So I can't speak to how it all is, but it's a standardized test. They want to make sure that we're safe practicing providers, of care. And so it has to be hard. They have to make sure that we're ready to take on real patients. So it's not meant to be easy.
And very grateful for that. You can imagine a world where nurses can just, get there. I know there was a scandal a couple of years back where there's some factory mill down in, Florida or somewhere. I just imagine being taken care of by somebody who has somehow gamed the system. Like, no, thank you. No, thank you.
Yeah, that's scary.
Well, speaking of taking care of others, let's talk about what you have done and are currently doing. So I had the honor of meeting you as a travel nurse. So would you like to tell us about that? Why did you get into it? Was that what you did straight out of, right after graduating? Like, tell us about your kind of career progression.
Yeah, so I actually started working as a nursery slash postpartum nurse in Lewiston at our hospital. And I did that for like 2.5 years. And then I was actually getting married in like 6, 7 months. And, I've always wanted to travel nurse, but again, I'm a homebody. And like my husband's his whole family lives here. Like we weren't moving, but I always wanted to try it. And so I had kind of been scoping out places, and there was some that were like 5 or 6 hours away. And I was like, okay, I could do that. And then one fell open in Spokane, Washington. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I feel like this is meant to be, so I told my, I told my work, I was like, hey, I think I'm going to travel nurse. And they're like, what? And I'm like, I don't know, but cause I was like, what am I, I would be going up there by myself. Like, I don't know anybody, which is scary for me. Like, I don't like that. And so I just applied and I said, if it's meant to be, it'll be. And I met with, people up there and I was like, oh my gosh, like this seems perfect. Like I got such good vibes from everyone there. And so I kind of just took the leap, and it was one of the best decisions I made because one, I made a ton of money, saved for my wedding. I went on an awesome honeymoon. But I also met really awesome people that I'm still friends with. And just like you, like I'm so thankful that our paths crossed because they wouldn't have if I didn't do that. So
yeah. And we were very thankful for Lynzee, just so everyone knows, because it was, and most of the travel nurses we've gotten have been amazing. Like there's, all the things, but all that to say, when we have a good one, it's like, I mean, how many times, Lynzee, if you had $1 every time somebody asked you to stay or to, apply here, or be here, come here, you probably would be able to retire early, right?
Yeah, I loved it. And so I extended my contract once, I think for a little bit longer. And then I remember I was like on my honeymoon or something, or like just about to get married, and Tiffany messaged me and she was like, hey, like you want to take another contract? And I was like, can it start this day when I get back? And she was like, shoot, like we need it to like next week. And I was like, oh my gosh, because I would have went back there. And I've like also, even after that, I looked at like staff positions there because I loved it. The community was great. Like, I liked floating because like my background was nursery. So I floated to the NICU. I think I calculated it out and it was like 97% of the time I was in NICU.
Well, because you were first to float, right? Like that's travelers. That's one of the downside to traveling. But
see, for me, I loved it. I mainly did nursery and NICU, and where I worked before, it was like a lower level NICU, but I loved it. Like, so for me, I'm like, I'll float. I don't doesn't bother me. But the days that I got to stay down on mom baby were like super special then, Yeah. Because I was like, this is my home floor, but I'm never here.
So on that note, any advice for students who are like, oh, travel nursing, like I'm thinking about doing that. What pros, cons, any advice you'd have for them specifically related to that?
Yeah, I think you have to go in with a super open mind because, especially if you don't know anybody and you're like, okay, well, I might have to be a little outgoing to, I'm going to be talking to new providers, new other staff, learning a lot of new things. You kind of have to be a sponge, but you also have to be okay asking for help. There was times where I'm like, oh my gosh, like I haven't been on mom baby. I forgot their hypoglycemia protocol, and I'm like, you just have to be okay being like, don't try to wing it by yourself. Like that's not going to get anyone anywhere, but you have to ask for help. And that's why I was so glad with that unit that everyone was super helpful. And I think that having that like mutual relationship of being like, hey, I'm here to help you, but I need your help too. Like it goes a long way. And be a helper, like all these nurses know that you're there doing the same job, but you're making more than them. So like that got brought up a couple of times, right? Like it was a little uncomfy at times. Mainly when I floated to other units like the ER but you just be overzealous in helping people. Like go out of your way, and you need to take the, crappier assignment. Like I did all the one-to-ones. Like it was bored, like be okay being like, okay, this isn't like the funnest time of my life, but it's worth it. And But I think you should have to go into the super open mind and be willing
Yeah.
to help out and communicate. But
Good
do it.
advice.
It was the best time. So if you have that in your heart to do it, I think you should at least try it. Say you did it. You can always go back to, a staff job like I did. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. All those options that are open, I love that. And I love that. Especially, again, like you're saying, like you weren't quite married yet, no children. You know what I mean? Like that's the prime opportunity to try something like that, where you're not moving your family around or leaving your family for extended periods of time. And that's just outstanding. So I'm assuming by the way you're talking that you're not traveling now. What is it what did you do after you? Okay, let me back up. Why did you stop travel nursing, and what are you doing? What has been the progression since then?
Yeah. Well, I stopped travel nursing because after I got married and went on my honeymoon, there wasn't a travel position open at Sacred Heart.
Okay, there's that.
I said I got too lucky with my first assignment. I don't think it's going to get better from here. But no, there wasn't assignments, within a shorter distance for me, and I didn't want to go super far away. So I actually came back to Lewiston and started working at an aesthetics clinic here in town. I had one of my cousins knew this girl, and she was looking for a nurse to do IV therapy part-time. And I was like, that would be fun. I don't know anything about aesthetics, but I didn't really want to work nights anymore. I kind of I was just in a time where I was like, I just want to chillax for a little bit. Aesthetics is not all chillax. I will preface that. There's still stress but yeah, I met with this girl who is now my boss and one of my favorite people, Ashley. And we just hit it off. And I don't think we both realized how it would work out, but we were just oh, we really like each other. We want to work together, but we don't know what it's going to look like. So I started doing that, and then I did that for a little bit, but I then took on different roles in the clinic. So then I started doing laser hair removal and facial lasers. I started doing chairside assisting with her. So I never injected Botox and filler and that kind of stuff. I left that to those girls because that is a lot of training. And for that, it's people's faces. You want to take good training. You don't want to just go to somebody that learned it on their own or is charging super cheap. You want somebody that knows what they're doing. And so I just assisted them in the clinic. And now I've been working there almost 2.5, 3 years now.
Wow.
And it's just working with some amazing women who are just your cheerleaders. And we have the clinic has grown so much, but yeah, it's super fun. I love it.
So then let me ask this for those that are out there going, okay, I kind of have an idea of what it is. If you had to sum up, what is being an aesthetic nurse? What does that look like on the day-to-day? What are your responsibilities? What are the possibilities within that realm? Expand that for us.
So being an aesthetic nurse, it's mainly about beauty and wellness and anti-aging and really, honestly, too, it's about being a friend to people. People come in and you have such a close relationship to these people, and they almost treat it as a therapy session. You get to know people and have these close relationships. But it's we work 9 to 5, but it's pretty flexible. If I have a doctor's appointment, I can leave or things like that. But it's just a very welcoming environment. I think people think it's kind of scary, but at least at my clinic, it's, we're all cheering each other on. It's not a competition kind of thing. Because if you do well, the clinic does well. And, but a lot of it is education, researching things on your own, taking classes on your own. But yeah, aesthetic nursing is, I think everyone thinks it looks so glamorous and, just fun and things like that. But there's still things that can go wrong and, side effects from, or if injecting something wrong or, reactions from lasers. And so it's a lot of just following protocols. I mean, we have them just like we did in the hospital, what to do. And we have medical directors that are involved,
Awesome.
kind of helping us out. But yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, it sounds like you're saying, some people focus on the word aesthetic and they forget that extra word nursing. It's still nursing. It's still nursing. Yeah. Awesome. So is that what you're going to do for the rest of your life, Lynz? I don't see that being the case. What are your future plans?
No. So I guess I'm a glutton for punishment, but I am back in school.
What? No way. But you loved nursing school the first time. Why would you do it again?
I know. So I am back to get my master's of nursing through Frontier Nursing University. It's out of Kentucky, but it's like a distance learning. And I'm specializing in women's health. So I just hit about 230 hours of my clinical rotation that I'm doing in Lewiston with a midwife. Her name's Andrea Hedrick, and she's like the best person ever. So I'll be done hopefully like February, March, and I'll be a women's health nurse practitioner.
Wow. Okay, then what is that? I mean, first of all, kudos to you. That's amazing. Like you're gonna be one of the best for sure. That being said,
thank you.
What is it like getting through clinical? Like now, these are different kinds of clinicals, right? Like what does a typical master's prepared clinical day look like for you?
Yeah. So when it first started out, it was just a lot of observing, but I go into the patient's rooms if they're okay with a student, but like it's you have an MA or an RN that's gathering data, like history and like why they're here today, making sure their meds and stuff are up to date. But you have to like mentally shift your thinking and to be like, no, I'm the provider now. Like I am going to be the one diagnosing. I'm going to be the one prescribing something. So it's a lot like pharmacology is like creeping its way back up. And I'm like, oh, perfect. But you have to, and then like follow-up care, and it's on you. I mean, you're the one in charge. And so it's a big responsibility, and I'm thankful I'm learning. I feel like I'm learning like a really good foundation of being like, okay, like what are things that I'm commonly going to see? And how can I just be really good at these things too? So that's kind of why I went into like women's health nurse practitioner and not just like a family nurse practitioner, because those are amazing and we need those. But I wanted to be something that you could go to for literally anything for women's health. Like, so I eventually want to focus on like menopause and hormones and like a lot of infertility. We don't have anything like that in our town. And so I want to be just a resource and a wealth of knowledge, even if it's just like a first step on the path. But so far I really like it. It's just another challenging thing, and it does remind me of nursing school because I'm in clinicals about 35 hours a week, so I'm only working about 10.
Yeah.
So but I love it, and I know it'll be worth it when I'm done. So I'm trying to just enjoy the ride and not stress too much about little things. And I just am a sponge and trying to learn everything I can.
Man, you almost make me want to go back. Like just your, you know what I mean? Your warmth, your enthusiasm for learning is palpable, even, with this distance away over online. Yeah. And that was always the case with you back when we knew you. You know what I mean? Like when you were that brief time you were with us. So thank you so much for sharing that. Anything else you want to share about your journey, your life before we close this traditionally, as we usually do?
I think everything goes by so fast. Like time flies, whether you're in nursing school or not. Right? Like if you're listening to this and you're not a student and you're like, oh, should I do it? This time goes by so fast. Like, and it's like in my master's program, I had a test every single Friday. So the terms were short. Like they were only 12 weeks, but I had a test every Friday. So things were moving quickly. I cannot believe I'm almost done with my program. Like I feel like I literally just started. So it's like, take the leap. Like it'll pay off, because it's just like you're investing in yourself and your education and your future. And I think it's just a very it's an empowering thing to be like, no, that was hard and it sucked, but I did it. Like if I can get through nursing school, I can get through anything. Like, it, and I look back and I loved that time in my life. And so I remember hearing this one thing that says like, you've made it through 100% of the things that were hard in your life. Like I remember all of the challenging things that I'm like, how am I going to get through this? And it's like, I did it, even though it sucked, you know? So it's just, you can do it. I think it's just have faith in yourself and it'll all work out.
Amazing advice. It's taking essentially that, using those past accomplishments as fuel for future accomplishments. Yeah. Like, no, I've done this. I've proven this to myself. Now let's go. Let's just run with this and have fun. Awesome.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up with our traditional questions, is there anything else you want to talk about?
Yes, there is a couple things. So the first one is imposter syndrome. I'm not sure if anyone else struggles with it, but yeah, it's something I struggle with. And it's just like thinking that you're not good enough, or, you know, like thinking you're like, well, how am I a nurse, or how am I doing this? Well, one, you passed nursing school. You're getting through it. You passed your NCLEX. Your patients are safe. But it's hard not to get down on yourself and to just doubt yourself. And so I want people to know that you're not alone in that feeling of feeling not good enough, but you are good enough and you're going to get through it. And there's days like that you'll have that you don't feel good enough, But
Lynzee, you've been a nurse for 5 years. Doesn't that go away at that point?
No. No, I really wish. So I'm like still kind of recovering from a recent imposter syndrome debacle. But so in about half a year into my master's program, I had a class and I failed it. By 0.12%, if I may say. But it's, I failed it. And that was the first time in my life I've ever failed anything. I feel very grateful for that. Don't get me wrong. But I had never failed a class or a test, and I failed it. And it, you know, when I was looking back, it was pretty small mistakes that I made. But at the end of the day, it didn't matter. And it's funny. Not funny. I took my final. I took my final, didn't pass. The next day, I was leaving for a 2-week vacation in Spain. In Italy. And so I put a little damper on it, but so I had to retake the class the next semester with 2 other classes because I didn't want to be put behind another semester because I have a friend in the program, Kaylee, who's like my godsend in there. And I didn't want to like get off track with her. And so, I took 3 classes the next semester and I passed, thankfully, but I had to do like a remediation with my professor who at the time I was like pretty salty with, but at the end she was super helpful. And at the end of the day, she just wanted me to succeed and, you know, be safe. But that was hard. That was really hard, but it all worked out in the end. But yeah, I definitely was doubting myself and being like, why am I doing this? Is this worth it? Like, oh my gosh, like, but yes, I did it. I figured it out.
And you talk about earlier about having like this fear of failure. So when failure actually happened, like, I mean, like you said, you're planning on finishing this class and going on vacation and just having a great old time, and you're like, how do you get through that? Like, did you do anything special as far as like trying to get through that failure, or do you just take a moment and you own it and then you move forward? Like, what did that process look like for you?
I really wish that it was as graceful as that sounds. It was not pretty. There was some crying in the fetal position for sure. Yeah. No, there was, there was a lot of tears and just being like, oh my gosh, like I didn't want to tell anyone. I was just like, oh my gosh, I was embarrassed and because I didn't want to identify that, and I didn't want people to feel bad for me because at the end of the day, it was my fault and I have to own it. But I tried to like talk to people to be like, okay, like what can I do? Or, like trying to navigate it. But at the end of the day, like it's a level playing field out there. They're like, yeah, no, you're going to retake the class and pay for it again. And looking back, I'm actually really glad it happened because I think it humbled me a little bit, being like, hey, you're not perfect. Like, everyone fails something. But yeah, it was really hard. I didn't want to leave that out of here because, even people that love nursing school and feel like they have all their stuff together, we do not. Like
Yep.
we fail, everyone fails at something. Like it's just kind of almost how you react and like how you bounce back. I think that is the most important, because if you fail and you just give up, like, you know, you can't do that. You got to get back up.
And you mentioned, like, I'm assuming by this point, at the very least, your husband, maybe your family, maybe, you know what I mean? People knew that you failed this class.
Yeah.
When they finally found out, did they disown you and shun you and shame you?
No, they actually felt
Strangely
bad that I went through it alone. They were like, oh my gosh, like, why didn't you tell me? And like, my sister, who's like my bestest friend in the whole wide world, she was like, oh my gosh, we could have like celebrated when you passed the second time, or we could have like done this, we could have done this. And yeah, it's just, I shouldn't have like kept it to myself. I wish I would have been more open with my support system so they could help me, because that's, you know, they love me and they want me to succeed, but they are also there for me, you know, if I fail.
Yeah. Don't have that regret, everybody. If you fail at something or you're ashamed of something, bring it out in the open. The sooner you have support, the better that is, right?
Exactly.
Awesome. So, Linz, what were the 3 words that you used to describe nursing school, and why did you pick them?
Okay, so the first one was hands-on, because at LCSE we had simulation, we had scenario, we had a lot of like tools where I feel like I learn best from like making mistakes, and I learn from them. So that was a very safe space for me to make mistakes. And so I was so thankful that it was hands-on. So I think that's something like, especially for like prospective nursing students, if to look into, like, does a nursing program have, you know, a lab where you can go practice IVs on an arm, or like, do they value like doing simulation and practicing things? Because that was personally how I learned the best. And I think it, you know, others learn from your mistakes too. So that was one of my favorite parts. But the other one was challenging, and that was because it was demanding, you know, as far as your time spent studying. It was hard to manage school, work, and a social life, but you know, in the end it was worth it. And that's kind of what leads to my last word, which is rewarding, because you know, when you're in the thick of it, you don't really see that light at the end of the tunnel. But every class that you take to get to the end, it's so rewarding. And I think we had really good professors at our school, and they were always cheering us on. So like getting their feedback and being like, Lynzee, that's awesome, like keep going. It was really rewarding. It made me feel really good. But in the end, after being a nurse for 5 years, I'm like, I love being a nurse. You know, I think there's days where you're like, why did I do this? But in the end, like, I don't remember those days. I just remember, you know, all the people that I got to help and people I got to meet and stuff like that. So it's so worth it.
Well, and you bring up a good point, too, because, you know, a lot of people are like, well, you know, you still have those days in nursing, like you said, where you're going, dear Lord, what did I, you know, my motto was always, you can do anything for 12 hours, you know, referring to a 12-hour shift. And there are certain shifts that have pushed that to its limit. But that being said, well, you know, it doesn't matter what if you're like, okay, no, nursing, it's just going to be too hard, and you bag out of it. Whatever you do, you're going to have shifts that are like, you know what I mean? I don't care if you're flipping burgers. I don't care if you're in the service industry or 100%. If you're an accountant dealing with numbers. You're going to have those days. So do what you love. Do what you love. I love it. Okay, so then, as we traditionally ask, if you had one piece of advice to give nursing students to walk away with from your episode, what would that be?
For me, it would be to write down your whys. So like if even if you're almost done with school, write down why you wanted to become a nurse in the first place. Why you want to help others. Like really dig deep, because during those hard shifts where you're like, this sucks, like pull that out and be like, okay, you know, 2 years ago, I dreamed of being a nurse. You know, I dreamed of this moment. So even though it sucks, like tomorrow could be a better day. Because like, I love to write things down and get my thoughts on paper. But there was times where I literally was like, why did I do this? And I have my whys. I have them still, even since before nursing school. And I pull them out and I'm like, that's why. You know, like it grounds me to be like, yes, nothing has changed. I still want to be there for people in their time of need. I still love the personal connection I get with helping patients. So I think just writing down your whys, let it motivate you.
Well said. Well said. That's a perfect way to end this episode. Lynzee, you are a ray of sunshine. Thank you so much for brightening our days and our Saturday morning. Much better than a Saturday morning cartoon. Thank you,
Eric. This was awesome.
So good reconnecting, and thank you. I hope you have an amazing day.
You as well.
Here's what's happening on the next episode of Feeding Our Young.
I think nursing school is a great little preview into learning how to balance work and non-work life. And so I feel like one of the biggest things is not overworking myself, which for me, I'm a go person. And that's really hard for me to do because I'm very, very good at overloading myself. So learning to set boundaries and that's okay, I think makes it a little more worthwhile. It makes it feel a little less just going through the motions to get it done kind of thing. And same thing with nursing school. I mean, dedicating your study time and also dedicating time to not study and to enjoy life where you're at right now. So I feel like nursing school kind of teaches us that a little bit. And yeah, I've also tried to make a really good habit right now in life of in nursing school or at my job, making sure I'm taking all my breaks and taking what I need. I found that when I'm taking my breaks, I'm taking my lunches and I'm eating my meals, I feel much better. I feel more physically prepared, more mentally prepared. So just trying to remind myself to not overload myself and to take the breaks that I need.
Did you like today's episode of Feeding Our Young? Let today's honored guests know by emailing us at thanks@feedingouryoung.org. Also, if you are a nursing student, nurse, or a nursing instructor and would like to be featured on a future episode, please email us a few details about yourself at the very special email address mystory@feedingouryoung.org. If you have a question you would like addressed in a future Q&A episode, please send it to q@feedingouryoung.org. For all other inquiries, please email us at info@feedingouryoung.org or text us at area code 509-ALL-THEM, 509-255-8436. We're so excited to have you return to hear our next honored guest. Be sure to follow us on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Feeding Our Young LLC. Again, that's username Feeding Our Young LLC. Until next time, be encouraged and go find someone to encourage today.